DOA. Get ready, fight!
Hello everyone, Sports Nature here of Top Tier Tips, coming with you with my second session of my vlog that I'm going to be running. Alright, for this session, I'm just going to be going over just a bit more of my early tournament experiences, and later on I'm going to be discussing just a little bit about what's called stream monsters and people that like commenting on chats. Alright, for my first tournament experience, it was actually in a game before I was playing Dead or Alive 5 called Soul Calibur 5. Alright, for this tournament experience, what I ended up doing was I ended up just discovering a site called 8-Way Run, and from there I seeked out some players in my area, which is around Toronto, Ontario, Canada. In this area, well, on 8-Way Run, what I ended up looking for with the main focus was just originally people to play, so just looking to find my own like offline team. So I ended up discovering it within downtown Toronto, and what I also discovered in Toronto, I think it was in the Toronto thread or the tournament thread somewhere along there, that there was going to be well, a tournament. This was well, back when Soul Calibur 5 was still like active around, say, around 2012. So I ended up going to my first tournament there. I mean, like at the place that was called well, it's called AMC World, and yeah, I ended up entering the tournament. There was a pretty small group, like not too many people. Like, I mean, the Soul Calibur 5 unfortunately didn't really last that long in terms of being popular in the tournament scene. But yeah, but with this tournament, alright, I'll just get to like when I was at my first match. I was playing someone that was a kind of a veteran of the Soul Calibur scene. Well, his name was Neo Russell. He's also a guy there that commonly runs the Toronto tournaments and everything. So yeah, he's in Soul Calibur, he's got a very solid Yoshimitsu. Yeah, so unfortunately, I was still fairly new to like playing even offline in general. So unfortunately, what kind of happened was,
Don't make me laugh.
yeah, I mean, naturally, I'll just say straight up, like I ended up getting bodied in that match. But the thing that like also like keep in mind is that the main thing that I like keep in mind is that, I mean, it was fun though. I mean, I did get off like a round here and there, but like something like a really big kind of or a really big blunder kind of happened. Like what ended up happening though was that my opponent ended up throwing out like some really big, highly telegraphed move, like which was, I think, was Yoshi's super, which were called like critical edges. And I mean, just me being dumbfounded like I was, I somehow ended up just getting like, clipped by it. I mean, he was like whipping it across the screen, and I still ended up getting hit by it. Like it was just being like streamed and everything. That was like probably some of the most embarrassing shit I can have. I mean, it was my first tournament, but like wow. And I even heard like some like comments some people made about it. Like at the time I was like, oh shit, what was I doing? But yeah, I mean I mean, those things kind of happened. Like it wasn't so bad. Like I didn't mind like too much. Yeah. So that was my first match for well, that was for Soul Calibur 5, but yeah, that kind of stuff happens. I mean, at that tournament, I did end up getting a win off the opponent, so I ended up going 1-2 overall for that tournament, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, like, I'll just let you know that it could be expected if you're like going in your first tournament. Something embarrassing like that can happen. Like everyone has their own experiences, but that was just like mine though. I mean, I even heard that like some other players were kind of even laughing at what happened. I mean, like at the time it was like really embarrassing, but when you're actually kind of like going forward, when I actually look back on it, I mean, this is just like those kind of experiences you just kind of you just kind of just look back on it and you just kind of laugh at it. It's like, what the hell were you thinking? It's like, obviously if you do something, if you like do something when you're a bit more experienced and you end up doing it, then you kind of you will just hang your head in shame more so than laugh. But yeah, I mean, because when everyone is new, that kind of stuff just happens. So I mean, like don't worry about it like so much. So I mean, I did end up going to like future Soul Calibur 5 tournaments before the kind of tournament scene for it kind of like died off, but yeah, I mean, things did improve when you go on. But I will let you know that when you end up going to tournaments or anything like that, getting bodied is just part of the experience. Like, I'll just say straight up, I mean, if you're like going to, or if you're like new to offline or doing scenes, like when you go to tournaments, yes, you do have a high risk of ending up getting bodied, but it is part of the learning experience. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter if you end up losing. What matters is that you just get the experience. I mean, whether you win or lose, you'll be having a blast of the time doing it. I mean, you'll just have a lot of fun. But now I'll just transfer on to a bit more of a Dead or Alive 5 experience. I'll just be going on with, I'll just let you know one of my more memorable matches. Alright, the match was against, well, it was during Dead or Alive 5 Vanilla. It was against a Lisa player, like a 9-year-old Lisa player that went by the tag Tommy Bogart. Like, I mean, I was still relatively new to the game myself, so I mean, I was still fairly new to the game myself, so I would say I actually thought that he was like really good. I mean you don't really find that much, but just I mean, thinking though, end up having to go up against a 9-year-old kid in was essentially well, it was essentially like a kind of like a semi-final match in a tournament. Yeah, so both Tommy Bogart and myself ended up fighting their way to one of the, I think it was one of the semi-final brackets or something like that. But it was also in the losers bracket. So whoever ended up losing this match would end up being eliminated. But end up just going up against his Lisa. I mean, like of course, him just being like 9 years old, it's easy to just underestimate his abilities or anything like that. But I will end up saying though that like early on, like I was using my Ayane decked out in well, I was using her little fancy Christmas outfit just because why not? I mean, well, even though Ayane looks good in anything it was, but for him though, he ended up decking out Lisa in basically what was her, I call it the dental floss outfit. It's basically her bikini where it's just like two kind of strips covering her special areas, if you want to say that. I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks like a DOA player get corrupted from a young age. I mean, 9-year-old kid using Lisa and a dental floss, so yeah, so a lot of the people, like commentators and even people there, were kind of making comments about that. But just going on with the match, though, I mean, I actually will say straight up, especially in the first set, he was basically just kicking my ass. I'll just say straight up, he ended up getting like I think like a great in at least one of the rounds, and really like, I think it ended up just being like a quick 3-0 for the first set, and I was like, holy shit, this kid's really, I'm just taking it to me. I mean, getting my ass kicked by a kid. I mean, just moving along for the second set, I did end up catching on to his tactics like a bit better. Like I was a bit more like cautious with how I was doing things, so I was able to what was I was looking for? I was able to try and defend against him, so I was trying to be a little less aggressive and just paying more attention to what he was doing, because this was like around the time when Lisa ended up getting some, I think, new attacks where she ended up getting like a back turn critical burst attack, so he was using that to great effect on me, so I was just accounting for that. So yeah, after the second set it ended up being 2-2. I mean 1-1, so I mean after the second set 1-1. So now in the third set, I mean, it was also fairly close, but yeah, I mean, this kid's got a lot of fight in him. He just ran me back and ended up making the set go to 2-1. So I mean, we were just like going like back and forth, back and forth. But now it was 2-1. That basically means that he was on what's called set point, meaning that if he wins his next set, I end up just getting eliminated out of the tournament, and I end up having to kind of shame on my head that I just got bodied by a little fucking 9-year-old kid. But as you can tell, I wasn't gonna go down that easy. So in the let's see, which was this? This would be the 4th set. If I remember correctly, it was in the home stage. So when it comes to both Ayane and Lisa, what they both want is they both want space. But the thing is that between those two characters, Lisa's the one who generally wants more space. So as you can guess, the home stage does benefit Ayane a little more than it benefits Lisa. But yeah, in the 4th set of this match, I at this point I was starting to catch on to Tommy Bogart's tactics a lot more. And one nice little boost I ended up getting from the home stage was that like Ayane could do a lot of friggin' environmental damage in that stage. So yeah, I was just kind of doing my thing, just watching for him to do anything unsafe, kind of like I think like Lisa's 1 PP was unsafe, so I was usually just throw punishing that like every time I blocked it to try and bait that move out, and then whenever I get a chance, just try and blast him into a wall and get that like environmental damage right there. So yeah, I ended up leveling the playing field, getting the set count up to 2-2. It's now going into the 5th and final set. Both of us are on set point, basically meaning that whoever loses this is eliminated, is out of the tournament. Yeah, so for the 5th and final set, if I remember correctly, it was on, I think, the bottom floor of the field stage, so that kind of factory level with all the explosions and Michael Bay, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but the funny thing is that around this point, I mean, for some reason there was just like we were actually having a fairly big crowd just kind of like watching on, just looking at the match, looking at everything going down. So looking at everything going down, even though, yeah, I mean, especially around this time, Team Ninja did end up putting on a little feature, which I'm not really too proud of, in the PlayStation 3 version, was, yeah, they give you the ability to kind of, quote-unquote, stimulate the chests of certain characters, namely the female characters, but yeah. So basically every time a round was won, they were basically telling you to shake the controller, which I think was bullshit, but I mean, like, whatever entertains the crowd, right? So yeah, so Tommy Bogart and me did that every time a round was won. But getting back to the match, oh yeah, this one was probably the closest set out of all of them so far. I mean, it was basically just complete back and forth. Due to the size of the field stage, we were like both running a bit of a spacing game. But this Tommy Bogart, this kid knew how to go in. Like, I mean, sometimes he just like gave no fucks and just kind of just was trying to rush down my Ayane, which he actually did, because he was using Lisa's mix-ups or getting a nice like kind of hit with like her, I think like her 9K or attacks like that, and was getting off critical bursts to good effect. I mean, like every time he ended up hitting a critical burst on me, you could just see everyone else just like get hyped. I mean, like shit. Everyone, I mean, let's say though, I mean, that explosion sound and everything, and knowing that you can set up big damage, like every time it made everyone else excited, it made me that much more nervous. So I was just trying to run a bit of a whiff punishment game there, because some of his spacing on his moves were a little off, but yeah, I mean, well, that was probably the most intense match I ever did. So I'll just say that I ended up getting a bit lucky on that last match, and he ended up whiffing, I think, Lisa's Wake Up H plus K, that move, and yeah, I just ended up nailing him with a clutch drill kick for the win on that set. I mean, everyone just went, oh! I mean, like, wow, I mean, they were just really into this, but they had no idea how stressful that match for me. But overall, I mean, I found it to be a really good experience. I mean, even to now, this match I had with Tommy Bogart probably goes down as probably one of the most intense matches that I've ever had having in DOA 5. I mean, like, offline, even up till now. I mean, I have had more intense matches in the future, but that one, it was still the ones that kind of stands out to me, no matter like how long ago it was. But yeah, like I'm never gonna underestimate playing kits. I mean, I'm sure lots of people remember like when Excalibur Blades they kind of shot onto the scene, or even like watching Sonic Fox level up. I mean, these guys were like almost like basically practically like almost like preteens when they were like just being like pretty much like godlike at Dead or Alive 5. So obviously don't underestimate how good kids could be when it comes to tournaments, or I mean just end up doing well in this game, or just like being able to do well at a competitive level. Alright, but now I'm going to be going on to the topic of what's called stream monsters. Alright, so for those that haven't, for those that aren't like specifically at a tournament, what you may end up doing is end up watching a tournament on a stream, such as on Twitch. What a stream monster is someone who comes into the stream chat and basically kind of just talks smack about the people on the stream. So what they do is they come in, they just share their thoughts as if they actually kind of like really know or understand what's happening. But I find that stream monsters can be very kind of it can be kind of disheartening, and they do end up really kind of they do end up kind of setting up a bit of a negative vibe within like the stream chat, and then that shit's no good. I mean, just this past week with US, they ran the KIT, the Kumite in Tennessee tournament, and I mean, I will probably end up saying it. I do admit that a lot of tournament players end up kind of quote unquote blew their load at NEC, so you didn't really find as many high level players in the KIT tournament. So what I ended up noticing was a lot of relatively either newer or lesser known players. So what I ended up seeing in the tournament was basically a lot of I ended up seeing in there like a lot of players that I didn't like. I admit I didn't really recognize, and I can tell that they were kind of new. But the one thing I really don't like seeing is when there's someone that's kind of like lesser experienced on the stream playing, you have people talking shit in the chat. Like, that is just what I hate. I hate seeing that so much. It's probably one of the most disrespectful things you can do is talk shit about people making an effort to come out to support your tournament scene while you're just at home just like watching. I mean, yes, obviously watching a stream in itself is a form of support. However, though, that does not give you the right to talk shit about the people there. I mean, you have to realize how much effort and like resources are put towards being able to like go to a tournament, and just think though. I mean, like how nerve-wracking you are when you end up performing one of these things. Like when I perform in a tournament, I usually don't really like give a shit what people like end up saying on me in the stream. I just go out there to compete, but some people might be like really anxious about that. I mean, especially if it is like your first tournament. I mean, it's just really an anxious situation. It just can make you like incredibly like nervous and almost maybe feel like a little uncomfortable. But yeah, I'll just say that I have nothing but the utmost respect for people that go out to tournaments, especially like a big tournament major. Like I have been to a couple US majors myself in the past, but I do admit that thanks to the kind of shitty Canadian dollar at the moment, it's just become like really expensive to go to the States for anything. So for me personally, what I do is I try and support the Canadian DOA and fighting game scene as much as I can to try to promote the tournaments we have here. So yeah, I mean, it obviously, when it comes to the fighting game community, I try and encourage positivity as much as possible. So obviously, yeah, if you do end up encountering stream monsters on stream, there are some options. There are ways you can try to kind of discourage their like negative comments if you can by trying to end up describing the game in like a more positive light. There is the option that you can like using Twitch to use an ignore function. But yeah, but for stream monsters though, I mean, like of course you'd like to ignore them, but knowing that these kind of people exist and what they're essentially doing on the stream is trolling, like it's just gonna be really, really, really disheartening at times. Although continuing on with the kind of issue with stream monsters, I will admit that a lot of stream monsters tend to just simply be players from, or not necessarily players, but just fans or viewers of other games. Like basically people that are not necessarily, they don't really care about DOA, and they just kind of happen to hop onto like a tournament stream and just start talking shit about the players or something like that. Like for those people though, they might be just waiting for something else, but those players can be a little frustrating to deal with because it kind of just begs the question. If you don't really care about DOA or don't care to watch it, why the hell would you come into the stream in the first place? Like coming in there to talk smack is just like bruh, like why would you do that for? Like you don't, like that's just not a good thing to do. Like just don't do that. If you're gonna watch, just watch the stream and try and understand what's going on in the game. I mean, I have enough experience and I know that Dead or Alive 5 last round is a solid game. I know that it's not perfect and I know which areas of the game could use improvement, but all things considered, it's a pretty darn solid game. So yeah, so it does. So I admit, you can tell that I do get kind of bothered how underrated it is, but I do also kind of know that it's just kind of an image the game has can end up leading to that, but it can end up leading to that. So which is unfortunate, but anyway, I'll just end up saying that with the case of stream monsters, I hope that they end up getting their act together and just get educated, and hopefully they can just kind of vanish. I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, that's what I'd like. In reality, that's probably not going to happen, but this is what would be ideal. But yeah, it is unfortunate. Because I mean, yeah, it's the same as like me going into like a Street Fighter, like Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, or like Tekken Tag 2, or like going into like a Marvel 3 or something like that, going into their stream, or like Mortal Kombat, Injustice, whatever, and just talking shit about the game. I mean, I don't do that because it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, it's not productive. If I end up going into a stream and end up watching like Injustice, because I know there are at least a couple or a few strong Mortal Kombat Injustice players that I actually know of personally from the Toronto scene, and I do support them from time to time, and I don't talk shit about their games. I just like watch them play, and yeah, at the time I consider them Honeybee fans. So I ended up just watching them and let their do and just let the people in the stream do their thing, like the people playing, and I just like sit back and try and be productive. All right, now I'm just gonna finish off by going off 3 tips now to help you out with just with your DOA journaling, just like what I did end up doing last session. So this time the first thing I'm going to show you is, all right, what I ended up highly encouraging for you is to make use of the kind of record function and the record features in order to for instance just to learn how to like deal with how to deal with characters, for instance. Record function is that it's a feature within the training settings. Right here should be number 1, comm action, and right here is comm recording. Alright, with comm record you end up taking control of your of the secondary character, your opponent's character, and you can make him do whatever. Right now I'm making him move around. Since it's Christie, I'm just gonna press P, 'cause that's what Christie's like to do. They just push buttons. Alright, but let's say if you want to end up dealing with certain specific aspects of Christie. So let's say you want to learn how to deal with her. Alright, a very common mashed out string would be like her 6pp. So after you end up recording the function, press start to end up going back to the menu, and it will stop it right there, and you end up just selecting replay. So now the AI will, or the record function, will cause the dummy to just keep doing that. Alright, what I want you to do if you're dealing with 6pp is I want you to hold the second hit. Alright, if for instance with Christie, if her 6pp hits on normal hit, then it becomes a natural 2-in-1, you can't do that. But if you're blocking it, then, or even if it, well technically if it stuns you, you can do a critical hold, but if you block the first hit, you can easily hold the second, and I'm trying to get fancy and trying to do an expert hold. Yeah, there we go, then you can do some, I don't know why I did that for. Yeah, I mean, generally if you're trying to hold something on reaction, I don't necessarily encourage going for the expert holds too much until you get used to the timing, then you can end up holding it. Once you get used to the timing, then you could start trying the expert holds. So you can use the record function to end up doing like anything. It's not just attacks. You can also use it for if you want to like practice like movements or anything like that. So now you can kind of practice with the opponent kind of like moving around. You can use it to try and practice if you want to like try and get used to like the range of your moves, for instance, or something like that against a certain character. So that is like kind of a thing you can do. And yeah, it looks like Christie's dancing now, so whatever. So yeah, so that's the kind of first thing, is try and use like different ways for the record function to help you out learn in your developing magic knowledge. Alright, for the other two things now is just basically how to learn how to, or just to get an idea on how to fight Ayane and an idea on how to fight Christie. When fighting Ayane, one big thing I generally tend to encourage, especially if your character can do rushdown, is try and stay on her. I'll just say straight up, try to stay on her ass. Like basically try to stay close to her, especially if you're a character that's faster, like Christie or Kasumi, like characters like those, or even like Kokoro characters like that tend to have good close range rushdown. Like try to just like stay on her. The main focus I'm trying to say here is to try and take away her range advantage, because I'll say right now that Ayane excels really well at running away. Like she's really good at a distance. She's probably one of the best characters, if not the best character at range. So yeah, when you're fighting Ayane, you generally don't want her to be running away. The only time when you don't really care if she's running away is if you are the one who has the life lead. If you have the life lead, then essentially what that means is that her running away doesn't mean anything. That means that she's eventually going to have to come to you. So like, as soon as you make it that she has to come to you, what that means is that she's going to have to commit to something. So alright, if you end up fighting like Ayane at range or anything like that, moves you want to look out for, I mean, this is assuming that the Ayane player knows what the hell they're doing. Moves you want to look out for is like 3H plus K, 3P, which has 2 follow-ups. Both follow-ups are unsafe. Or you also want to look out for, well, depending on spatial, she might try 1P plus KK. Or some may try to get fancy to use back turn 3KK, which is actually a really good poke. Or, I mean, for this though, you can hold the second hit on reaction. You do have to be a bit quick, but the kind of neat thing about that poke, I mean, well, for Ayane, is that you can't tell if she's going to do 1 or 2. What I mean though is that if you try to hold the second hit, you basically have to commit to it. So, let me try. So if she just does 1, then if you're not careful, she can do 2T. So I mean, if you're able to just hold the first hit, like but of course you would have to know she's to do that. So based on range, then you can try and hold the first hit. Then you have to be careful if she does the other option, but you kind of like get the idea. But another thing also is that like the kind of big things I kind of encourage for fighting Ayane is try to avoid letting her get too much space. Number 2 is to punish anything unsafe. Like the moves I ended up showing like earlier are stuff that are actually probably more optimal pokes, but a lot of people like to do some stuff that can be really friggin' unsafe. Like that right there is her drill kick. It's minus 12 on block. Let me see if I'm right. Yeah, minus 12, so that means you can get up to a 10 frame throw on it. Other pokes that players like to do that are not really sure what they're doing is they like to use this attack here. I'll admit that attack for H plus K has really good reward if you actually hit the opponent. Like, well, that's a wall slip. Like, it can cause a limbo stun in close stance and a gut stun in open stance. I mean, both of them are really good hit statuses, but if the move is blocked... Oh, it's not blocking. But if the move is blocked, then you're left at minus 17 means that you can be strike punished. You can easily get hit by a 12 frame throw. Even if you do this move at like tip range, you can still get throw punished by an opponent's 7 frame throw to 6T. So you have to be careful with that. Other unsafe moves is like that's her back turn 6H plus K. As you see right there, it's minus 29 on block. You can easily get strike punished, and because you're back turned, you have to actually add an extra 5 frames, so it's like you're minus 34. And if you get hit in the back, the hit status will be counter hit, so it basically means that you can kind of get launch punished for free. Technically, the same can be said if you block Ayane's 3 PP. If you want to take the safe route, you can just go for a quick throw, but if your character has a good fast launcher, then you can like do it. Like Ayane herself, if she blocks this, then you can end up doing a 6 PP for free. If you end up blocking it, because she's what, usually about minus 15, minus 14 around there, which is actually minus 20 because of back turn. So you actually can strike Punisher for free with quite a few things. Alright, just things to watch out for in close with Ayane. The most common things she's going to end up doing is like her jab, her K, her 6K, her 6P, or 2P. Her 2P can end up being a huge nuisance because it's 12 frames. It's actually 0 on hit. It's zero on hit. So if your character is slower than her, or more specifically, if your character's 2P is 13 frames or slower and their mid is 13 frames or slower, she can do this move for free against you, meaning that you have to do a defensive action to not get scummed by this. Such as a low block in, you technically could sidestep it, you could low hold it, or you can low crush it, so I mean stuff like that. So this move can become a huge nuisance for people that lack a 12 frame mid or a 12 frame low or 11 frame mid. So you have to watch out. If you're getting close, Ayane will use this move to tell you to get the fuck back. Like this is what she uses. Like her jab allows her to set up her back turn 4-4 or back turn 8P, which allows her to turn around. So you want to be kind of be careful with these kind of moves that she may use to condition you. Her 6K can do a decent stun on normal hit, which you could follow up with any of her initial pokes. So those are like things to watch out for, and a common move she's going to use to try and start her offense with is with her 6P, because she can end up going to do 6P3 with that, which is the punch to a spin. She could do 6PK, which is very delayable. I mean, with that delay, you can nail people really easily with it. I mean, yeah, well, it does 30 damage, which is okay. I mean, but yeah, you can definitely throw people off a lot with it. I mean, because it's like a difference between 6P3 cancel, 6P3, or 6PK. As for if you end up doing if you end up blocking her 6p, technically speaking, she's minus 10, meaning that if you know she's to do a free cancel, you can actually strike punish her up to 13 frames. So you can usually jab her or up to a 13 frame mid for free if you know she's to do that. I have ended up catching an Ayane before with that, but of course it's a risk in itself. But yeah, those are generally the main kind of things to watch out for. I mean, you could also do 6p9, but that is a kind of a bit of a gimmick. So 6p3 is a bit more of a legit setup, but yeah, those are some things like to watch out for in close. And the last thing I have to say is that if you don't want to take the chance and play maybe slightly riskier and try and like rush her down relentlessly, as in trying to stay on top of her at risk of getting like counter hit by something, you can actually choose to just turtle her. But this basically ends up requiring you to be patient. So what you're doing is you are slowing down the match, but you're making both players have to be very patient. Because I mean, yeah, Ayane's like to run away, but of course, if you have the life lead, she's gonna have to eventually come to you, and that's when you. And what you do is try and make the Ayane player patient. I mean, yeah, try and make him patient and keep him honest. So when fighting Ayane, what I want from you is to be, well, no, of course, number one is be patient when fighting her. So, don't let her get too much space easily. So try and stay on her ass. In close, watch out for her trying to condition you with her jab or her 2p, or trying to stun you with her 6k, or trying to do some shenanigans with her 6p. Because I mean, that's the kind of stuff you have to watch out for in close. At range, obviously you want to watch out for like 3p or 3h plus k, or back turn 3kk. Because those are the moves that more safer Ayanes will usually be trying to make use of. And if need be, feel free to turtle her, because if you can make her impatient, then you just make the match that much better for you. Because as soon as an Ayane gets impatient, she's gonna start playing a lot more like riskier, doing unsafe things, or just like trying to YOLO you or anything like that. Alright, just to finish off, I'm gonna end up giving you just some like tips now for I'm just gonna give you some tips now for like handling Christie. I ended up showing you a little hint when I was doing showing a little record demo. Alright, for Christie, the main thing I want you to do is try paying attention to what strings she's using. A real important thing with Christie is knowing when she can Jikaio transition. Some examples is PKK, 6PP, 6K, 3K. No, she has some others, but they're kind of eluding me. Oh yeah, she has some Jikaio cancel, so 3PP has the ability to transition also. There's some other ones too. But yeah, the main thing to do is, if you end up blocking a move that ends up transitioning into Jikaio, if you block the initial move, let's say the most common one is 6PP, Jikaio. If you block 6PP, you can use a fast mid to stuff any follow-up she does out of it. She doesn't have a throw out of it. She can't really guard as safely out of it as, say, like with Ayane 6p3, where Ayane can free cancel into a guard. Where Christie's actually left vulnerable like this if you block the initial hit that transitions into it. So a good rule of thumb you can do is you can usually 6p or 6k or whatever your fast mid is, and just stuff it. Also, of course, depending on what character you play, you also can use a fast mid or low tracking move to stuff Jikaio. I mean, to keep it in check. It includes also like random Jikaio. So yeah, with Christie, the main things you end up wanting to do is pay attention to like what strings she's using against you, including if it's just mash and PP, which I will say is a high mid string with a high mid or low option at the end. I mean, there's other things you can do with it, but the main thing is to pay attention to is just like where each poke is, because a big thing about fighting Christie is being able to hold her strings on reaction. You have to be able to kind of stuff her follow-ups. Because I'll just be quite frank that Christie's throws aren't really that threatening. I mean, yeah, some of her throws can be dangerous depending on situation. Like her walled 60 is probably the most dangerous one. She also has roll and throw, but compared to most characters, her throws are a lot less threatening than say like Bass or any of the grappler characters. Hell, even Ayane's throws are a lot stronger than Christie's, but yeah, so you can end up holding a bit more freely against her. As for ranges, you do want to be a bit careful if you're in close, because that's when her kind of jab, or her kind of strike, or her string mix-ups can be a bit more dangerous, because that's where she has the most opportunity to make use of those. Where if you fight at mid-range, you first have to do a bit of a poking or counter hit fishing or footsie game. Like at range, you have to watch out for like 4K, H plus K, 6 PP, 2 H plus K. Not really 3 PP as much, but 6 PP and 4K and H plus K and 2 H plus K are common things. 1 P is actually really unsafe on normal hit or counter hit. Yeah, it's actually showing the other characters' frames, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, see, it's like this is minus 17 on, her 1P is minus 17 on normal hit. The reason why that is because it has an incredibly delayable follow-up that could launch on counter hit, but yeah, I mean, this move does actually leave her a bit negative if she doesn't, she's pretty much forced to commit to do the follow-up if she doesn't condition you to respect the follow-up. So yeah, it becomes pretty much a big guessing game on hit or block. As for 2H plus K, it has a follow-up, but both of them can be defended against by either a low hold or a low block. So if the first hit connects, then you know the follow-up's either going to be that, or a throw, which quite frankly is useless because everyone always crouches after this. So what you may try and do instead is just free cancel it into something else. This is like a quick synopsis there. I find that being able to deal with Christie's strings and learning how to thwart and stuff her Chikayo is a big key to learning how to, like, what you want to do is just not allow her to get into like a rhythm with her stances. Anyway, thank you for watching this session today, and that's it for now. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll end up seeing you next time. This is Force of Nature signing off.